You know that from jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu people are some of the nicest people ever.
Some of them.
Some of them, but
Yeah.
you know, you can't get all great people.
Correct.
It's too hard. But then when you get into the black belt range, you get a very high percentage of great people. Very high percentage.
I've had it said to me by a few coaches that the black belt itself has the highest deviation in range and ability than any other belt leading up to it.
Oh, for sure. If you think about like the guys that keep going way past that, we were talking earlier. We were making these analogies about scratch golfers, and I was when you were saying that a scratch golfer is like a black belt, and that someone was saying it's like a purple belt.
Yeah,
you were saying no, it's like a black belt. And then I think what some people don't know is there's black belts, and then there's black belts. You know, there's Marcelo Garcias, where you roll with them. You're like, what am I doing? Like, why am I even doing this?
And I've heard other black belts describe experiences like that. It's the same thing. Like, I rolled with that guy and he made me feel like a white belt. And that dude has more stripes on his belt than you can count.
Yes.
Like, how the fuck is that possible?
How is that possible? I mean, that was always the case with Rickson. Rickson, when he would do seminars, he would teach seminars, and then he would teach these black belts the finer points of techniques and things that they didn't even know. Like, these guys are black belts, and he's showing them, this is why, and then you put your position, and this, and then they're like, holy shit. Like, now all of a sudden light bulbs go off, and you realize you've been doing this one position wrong, a very simple position. Maybe it's a guard pass, maybe it's a triangle, whatever it is. He would do this. He would teach these black belts, blow them away. And then he would line them up and roll with them.
Just smash them.
One after another. And these guys would wait. So they'd be warming up and stretching out, and they'd watch him go to town with these assassins. So you go, oh, I'm fifth. Maybe I'll have a chance. Maybe he'll be tired. He never gets tired because he never puts in any effort. Have you ever seen, there's videos of Rickson. We'll pull up a video of Rickson rolling with a series of black belts. This is the Rickson samurai days. This is when he was the motherfucker. He used to wear his hair in like a samurai bun. He was all in, bro.
That's cultural appropriation. But
a little bit, but I think he can do it. He's Rickson Gracie. If anybody has the spirit of a samurai, it's that guy.
So Henry is one of his first American black belts. He has stories of world champions coming in and just getting fuck started.
Yeah.
Like putting their belt in the garbage can on the way out.
Paulo Filho said that. Paulo Filho said that when he was a WEF, or what was it? Which organization was he world champion of? He was a world champion of one of the organizations that the UFC acquired. I forget which one. I'm having a brain fart. But anyway, Paulo Filho, who was fought in Pride, he was a legit black belt. He submitted a lot of fucking people. He submitted Melvin Manhoef in a crazy fight. You ever see that fight? I'll show you that fight.
I don't think I've ever heard
World
that name.
Extreme, that's right, WEC. Right, okay. So go, what was I going to say? Go to, let's go to Paulo Filho first. So you see Paulo Filho. Do you have the Rickson one?
No, I was still finding that.
Okay, go Paulo Filho versus Melvin Manhoef. Melvin Manhoef is probably, he's in my top 10 favorite kickboxers of all time. He was a wild motherfucker, and he was so powerful. And he was all gas, no brakes. And the most, for sure, the most destructive kickboxer that ever fought in Pride. Right up there with Mirko Cro Cop. Like that level, although Mirko was more successful. But Melvin, because Melvin was much smaller. But Melvin knocked out Mark Hunt with one punch, and he weighed 190 pounds at the time.
Is this same rule set as UFC?
No,
largely?
This is Pride. So Pride is amazing because you can kick on the ground, you can stomp guys in the head, you can do anything. Because of the ring, I think that's a little bit more fair because you can move your head around a little bit more. In a cage, you know, I had a conversation with Tate Fletcher about that, and he was saying, no, it's the cage. You can't like stomp a guy with their head is pressed against the cage. I'm like, yeah, you got a point.
It does look like it'd be harder to control control them up against the ring.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it makes takedowns more difficult as well. It makes getting back up much more difficult. Getting back up, you know, it's very hard to do in the center, right? You got to escape. So he's getting tooled on by one of the most ferocious strikers to ever fight in MMA, who's built like a fucking superhero, right? But Paulo Filho eventually catches him. But this is how good he was in his prime. Now, in his prime, during these times, he rolled with Rickson. And he said he felt like a white belt. He went roll with Rickson. He was like, oh my God, like everything they say is true. Like everything they say about him is true. So he gets him down finally.
Oh, he's getting that arm.
Oh yeah. No, Paulo Filho, he was a bad motherfucker, dude. Tight jiu-jitsu. Look at the space. Look at the space. See no space? Look at that space. I mean, his jiu-jitsu's tight, man. Elite shit. Look at this.
God.
Yeah.
I have a hard time watching this because I'm waiting for the elbow to detonate in the wrong direction.
I know. I've seen a lot of those. but look how tight that jiu-jitsu was.
Yeah.
Tight. And he's a young man in his prime. He went and rolled with Rickson. He's like, the stories are all true. The stories are all true. Which is hard to believe. You know, like that there's this one guy that is just so far above.
Yeah.
He also had this like thing about him too, the spiritual aspect, the meditation and the yoga. It freaked people out. You know, like when they were actually rolling with him, it freaks them out. They're like, Jesus Christ, this is Rickson Gracie.
I've spent a lot of time traveling around going to Henry's seminars so I get to pick his brain. And I've been there when somebody's asked him, it's like, so, you know, how long when you were training with Rickson until you were able to, you know, tap him out? And after he got up off the floor laughing, he's like, I never scored a point on that guy. And
Yeah.
I've rolled with Henry. It's the single most uncomfortable rolling experience I've ever had. There's no space. If you give him an inch, he takes several. You don't get it back. The pressure, you feel like you're being pancaked under a hydraulic press. And so that's kind of like my upper end bar. And then to hear that somebody at that upper end level was unable to ever score a point against their coach, like, what the fuck?
I know, it's crazy. But that's what we're talking about. That there's layers and layers and levels and levels. You know, it's funny. You roll with Jean-Jacques Machado, he's talking to you the whole time. Joe Rogan, come on, my friend.
I don't know if I'm cool with that. It's like, at least work. Please pretend like you're breathing hard.
No, he's never breathing hard. Jean-Jacques never breathes hard. Never. Never. You never see him breathing hard. He's always relaxed and calm, no explosive movements. But that's also why he's 50 and he can still roll with black belts. No problem at all. No problem. I mean, he's had like a little meniscus injury in his knee, like little tiny shit.
Yeah.